Hello everybody, and happy Mardi Gras to everybody who celebrates Mardi Gras. It's been a whirlwind of the past 4 weeks of parades, particularly the past 6 days, because I went out and did a marathon of parading, watching parades on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then also judging a couple of parades on Lundi Gras and Mardi Gras Day today. As I'm also trying to wrap up my fast-paced World Indiegogo campaign, I thought that I would do a video update and thanks to everybody who has supported and backed this campaign so far, particularly those who have perked at the shout-out level or higher, and that would be Jeff, Andrew, Bert, and Lindsay. Everybody's support is very important to me as I navigate my life now as a creative freelancer, but particularly because it's very important to me to make sure that all the talent that I get involved in, whether through my new music concert series or through my own work, gets compensated fairly. This campaign is very key to making sure that the dancers and the administrators and also myself and my creative choreographer, partner, collaborator get compensated fairly for everything that we're trying to bring to this project. So I really appreciate it. I just finished creating a video to help accompany the audio for Fast-Paced World. I'm going to be releasing this as a music video sometime in the next month. Today, I thought that I would talk a little bit about the process of the creation of the video, what I used for materials, and how I modified the materials to make what you will see in the music video when it gets released. I did go with a very literal approach to creating the video. The audio comprises of two primary things. One, of a person walking, and two, of cars and other vehicles driving by, sometimes creating a heavy Doppler effect and other times just creating a medium Doppler effect. I turn that Doppler effect into tones, that turns into chords, that turns into music, and the overall soundscape. For the video, I did a search for public domain videos that involved somebody walking, and I found this 28-minute video of this guy walking through and doing a tour of this random town in Virginia. The first thing that I did with this video was I watched it and annotated all the stuff that happened in the video. So here you can see it starts on a bridge and he's rotating. After a while, it just turns into bridge walking. I made note of the various vehicles that went by, the kind of vehicles, the kind of views that they were. An SUV that goes by, a hatchback going by the opposite direction. That hatchback turns onto a road and then a pickup truck comes in behind it. I did a lot of documentation of all of the things that happened there. I also made note of when the walker ends up going on the opposite side of the street. So after going through all of that, I found and cut up certain sections that I thought would work well to represent the sounds of the cars going by in the audio. This one is a segment that I used a few times of just a single car, SUV really, going by. And then there's another one that I used way later, this one here, that was very similar but different and also showcased it on the other side of the sidewalk. For the more race car-like sounds, I found separate public domain video footage of race cars going by. This one is what I used a lot. It's just a very short clip that loops of a race car driving by. I also used another one that I found. I can't find the original source video for that at the moment, but that has a single race car that goes into an S-curve along the entire screen. So the basis of the video then was taking this footage that I put into ScreenFlow, and you can see here that this is currently on an angle, and then I applied two built-in effects to this footage. The first is the vignette effect, which allows it to focus on a particular area and black out the area around it, and the other one is an effect called edge work, and that takes and traces and outlines the footage and turns it into a black and white sketch. And you can change how defined versus not defined that edge work is by taking this radius parameter and bumping it up to 20 or bringing it down to 1. In the opening, I put this at 2 and then obscured it some by creating a duplicate on the other side. This was to create a pseudo complete road, but clearly from the angle of how the walker would sometimes walk, you didn't really get that sense. I could have changed the angle some to make it happen, but I also wanted it to feel still pretty realistic, but also a little bit off kilter. So you take that, and then on top of that, let me take these out real fast. On top of that, then, whenever any of the sounds of the cars would go by, then I would fade in and then out other parts of that walking video that showcase these vehicles going by. And you can tell that this video has been slowed down. I did that in order to match the pace of the audio to make the video cars go by at that same sort of rate. And this has the same vignette effect and edge work effect. Very clear how those cars are going by, but it's made a little bit more obscure by the fact that they're overlaid from the original walking video. The original walking video, by the way, these are duplicates of each other in mirror, but I also have one of them going slightly faster than the other because I didn't want the whole thing to be an exact mirror. I'm very fond of taking two things that are the same or similar and stretching the one out just a little bit faster, a little bit slower to over time evolve a sense of tension. My intention with the audio for Fast-Paced World was to make the first iteration of manipulation of the stretch of the Doppler effect to be subtle and for it to be almost unnoticed. And then as the piece goes on further along, more of it becomes obvious, more of it becomes revealed until very clearly you get chords that come from that Doppler effect that are very manipulated and very heavily reverbed. The first evidence of that in the video is a lot more obvious because I take the video footage that I used for that sound just prior, which is right in this segment right here, which you can see on the left-hand side coming up. And I take that and I apply immediately to it a color representation of the stretch out. So here, you'll be able to see that. Before it goes back into a white. And for me, the transformation of the black and white to color is supposed to match the transformation of the audio from unmanipulated to heavy manipulated. So at first you start off with, let me turn off the snapping here because it's getting in the way. First you get a little bit of this hint of color, and eventually you get a little bit more of that color as more of that manipulation starts to stack on top of each other. As you get further along in the piece, as it starts to add in the race car stuff that's more manipulated, then you start to get different color palettes and different versions of that race car stacking on top of each other. You can also see that the background here has become more abstract because the walking sounds have faded from the audio at this point. And I wanted to represent that by taking the clarity of that background and turning it into something that was a lot more obscure. And I did that by taking this and taking that radius edge work variable and ramping that up to its maximum at 20. If I was going to take this and bring this back, then that's where you can see the clarity coming in at a radius of 2, where it was originally, before coming in to a radius of 20. As you get further along in the work, I abstract even further the stuff that happens in the car stuff. You also see here that when the low tone comes in the work, then I add a background color palette. Let me find that right here. That's this part right here. You have that low E flat that comes in, and with that low E flat is the introduction of this light green background palette to help exemplify that. And then finally, once we get into the very end, towards the end of the climax, I start to incorporate a few other sorts of elements that involve taking that different S-curve race car and manipulating it in a few different ways using edge work and also using false color, and then also making use of a thermal modifier that adds a great deal of visual contrast and brightness in comparison to the black and white thing that we started off with. That's the behind the scenes of the music video in a nutshell. Again, it's going to be released sometime in the next month. If you back this campaign at the pump up the volume or higher, then you're going to get a sneak peek of the official music video about a week before I release it to the general public. It's not too late to contribute to this campaign at a higher tier. If you end up backing this at the pump up the volume or music to my ears tier, you will get access to a second video here that talks a little bit about how I'm taking this video and transforming it for the purpose of the actual concert that's going to be happening at the end of May. Thanks again to everybody who has participated in this project. I'm very excited to show this final result and have that world premiere happen. If you find yourself in the New Orleans area at the end of May, this is going to be featured along with a bunch of other works for concerts that are being hosted by Versapel New Music on May 25th and May 26th at the Marigny Opera House. I'm super excited for this world premiere, and I'm also really excited for the larger project that this is the launch point for, Through the Sonic Glass. More information about Through the Sonic Glass is coming throughout 2023. Thanks so much again, and happy new music making.